Fie upon her! There's language in her eye, her cheek, her lips, nay, her foot speaks, her wanton spirits look out at every joint and motive of her body. William Shakespeare, Troilus and Cressida, Act the 4th, Scene the 5th.
Chapter 2 is starting at the top. The head and face play an extremely important role in body language. You have the ability to read the expressions on a stranger's face from as far as 150 feet away. Whenever people interact, their facial expressions change to reflect what they are discussing. Their heads also move in a variety of ways that reflect their thoughts, attitudes, and feelings. These unconscious gestures and movements are easy to observe, and in interpretation of different facial expressions are virtually the same all around the world. In addition, when we are talking with someone, we place most of our attention on his or her face. We automatically adjust our conversations according to the expressions on the person's face, as we are reading facial expressions all the time. Recently, I happened to bump into someone I hadn't seen for many years. We had a cup of coffee together while we caught up on what we'd been doing since we'd last spent time together. He asked me how my wife was, and I told him about some of the things she was doing. After that, I was about to ask after his wife, but didn't, as I saw a brief flicker of sadness cross his face. This was a micro-expression, which is a highly distinctive gesture that comes and goes in a fraction of a second. He knew I was about to ask him about his wife, and his involuntary micro-expression anticipated my question. If I hadn't been looking at his face at that exact moment, I would have missed it. Instead of asking the question, I asked him about something else instead. Later in the conversation, he told me that he and his wife had recently separated, and he was still struggling to come to terms with it. Some unfortunate people are unable to make involuntary facial expressions. Some stroke victims suffer from paralysis of one side of their face. Sufferers of Parkinson's disease are able to make only a limited range of involuntary facial expressions. Though they can make them voluntarily when they wish, the inability to make appropriate facial expressions causes many people to become repulsive and withdraw from society. The head. The way you hold your head can indicate interest, aggression, anger, superiority, power, submission, and boredom. If your head is held high and slightly backward, you may appear conceited and arrogant. If your head is held high and your chin thrust forward, you will appear aggressive and confrontational. Lowering the head can be a sign of tiredness, submission, worry, defeat, loss, or shame. It can also indicate rejection of the other person's ideas. Head movements can indicate much more than yes and no. They can be used to emphasize or punctuate the spoken word. They can beckon someone in a situation when you may not want to call out to him or her. A brief upward movement of the head can be used as a sign of acknowledgement, and the nod can indicate agreement, approval, and encouragement. If someone's head suddenly jerks back, it's a sign that he or she is shocked or surprised at something he or she heard or saw. In most parts of the world, a head nod is a sign of assent. However, in some parts of the world, it can indicate no. Countries where a head nod indicates no include Bulgaria, Serbia, Turkey, Montenegro, Slovenia, Iran, and parts of Greece. Nodding your head during a conversation encourages the speaker to continue talking. This tells the speaker that you are listening to what they are saying, and also tells him or her that you are happy to keep on listening. If you stop nodding your head, the speaker will think you have lost interest and stop talking. Nodding rapidly shows that the listener is aware of the urgency of the situation or wants to speak. A slow, prolonged nod shows that the listener doesn't fully agree with what the speaker is saying. When you nod your head in agreement with someone, start your nod by inclining your head upward rather than downward. Vigorous head nodding is a sign of impatience. The person doing the nodding has listened enough and wants the speaker to stop talking. If someone constantly nods his or her head while talking, it's a sign that the person subconsciously wants you to agree with what he or she is saying. Because of this, it can sometimes be an indication that the person is lying. People's real feelings are revealed if they nod their head when they should be shaking it, and vice versa if someone says I love you, while at the same time shaking his or her head slightly. The head shake rather than the words reveals the truth. Head shaking signifies disagreement. Rapid head shaking indicates major disagreement. Every now and again, you will come across someone who shakes his or her head slightly while talking with great enthusiasm. When this occurs, the head shake reveals the person's true feelings, no matter how enthusiastic or positive his or her words might be. A single quick shake of the head is a deliberate action to indicate surprise or astonishment. It appears as if the information is so amazing that the person has to shake his head to reassure himself that he is not dreaming. People frequently clap the back of their heads as a response to a real or imagined disaster. This is a protective gesture that provides comfort and security at a time of major stress. You can see this when watching the supporters of a team when they realize they are going to lose a game. It's common for people to tilt their heads to one side when watching or listening to something that interests them. It's a sign of mild, polite interest and shows they are listening. A prolonged or deeper tilt creates empathy. Next time you become aware that you are tilting your head while talking or listening to someone, notice whether your head is tilted to the right or the left. If it's tilted to the right, you will feel more open as you are accessing the creative part of your brain. If your head tilts to the left, you are likely to be intellectually analyzing what's being said. A 2006 study found that tilting your head to the right makes you appear honest and dependable, and tilting your head to the left makes you appear more attractive. Experiment with tilting your head to the opposite side to experience the different feelings it produces. Women tilt their heads more frequently than men, and it can sometimes be a sign of flirtation or lightheartedness. In fact, it's not unusual for people to do it deliberately when talking to someone they are sexually attracted to. Tilting the head exposes more of the neck and can make a woman appear vulnerable and in need of protection. It can be a sign of trust. Because a head tilt is a sign of empathy and is a non-threatening gesture, it can be a useful tool for men to use in the workplace. However, women should avoid tilting their heads in the workplace as it's sometimes considered a submissive gesture. It's a sign of criticism or disapproval if the head is tilted downward to other person. Someone who is thinking or assessing something may stroke his or her chin with a thumb and forefinger. Someone with a beard may stroke or pull on it while evaluating something. Tapping the temple or forehead with an index finger is a sign that the person who is tapping thinks the other person is crazy or has said something too ludicrous that even the idea of it is crazy. Tapping the head is also used as a deliberate insult, suggesting that the other person doesn't possess the ability to think. Funnily enough, tapping the head can sometimes mean the opposite. If someone has said something profound, a listener might tap his or her head to show that he or she recognizes the speaker's high intelligence. Often when people realize they've done something stupid, they gently slap or hit themselves on their heads. This blow is normally made to the side of the face, the forehead, or the top of the head. People often scratch their heads when they are puzzled about something. This is because their skulls start to itch when they are perplexed or confused.